What is going on, everybody? I'm Chris Dailey, founder of the Sports Court, joined here by none other than the voice of the Savannah Bananas and a man who quit a full-time job with the MLB Network to take a chance on the team in the minors, and boy, oh boy, it's paying off big time. This man is none other than the one, the only, Biko Skalla. Biko, thank you so much for joining the show.
Oh, absolutely my pleasure, man. Fired up to chat.
Yeah, I'm really stoked to talk to you. And as we mentioned before we went on air here, I talked to Jesse Cole, and many loyal TSC followers would know that in the past. But without further ado, let's get into you, Biko. So you grew up in New York, and you were a big-time athlete participating in high school cross-country, wrestling, and baseball. Throughout high school, did you have your eyes set on broadcasting, and what did you do from there to prepare for your time at Newhouse School of Communications?
Yeah, man, I was set up really well. So sports were the most important part of my life for as far back as I can remember, baseball chief among them. And the dream was to be a Major League Baseball player. And when I was about 15 years old, so ninth, 10th grade or so, I realized that's probably not the most achievable of dreams, which obviously shoot for the moon. But I had seen enough brilliantly talented players that I was a good ball player and not good enough. So I modified the dream to just being able to be paid to talk about baseball. And at Syrcause High School, I mean, we had such an amazing computer video production department. Scott Wickham and Jackie Hayes just do a phenomenal job. So ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, each year I had a different computer video type class, finishing up with broadcast journalism as a senior in high school, where I was just absolutely cutting a bajillion videos in Adobe Premiere Pro and going out on the street and getting to be creative and making movies and telling stories and this and that. So, and then my senior year, we switched from audio to video announcements every morning. And I was blessed to be chosen as one of the two anchors alongside my buddy, Dan George. So I got some good teleprompter time there. And it was, I mean, I was very equipped heading into, the best journalism school in the country.
Yeah, that's awesome. My school has something similar with the morning show with the teleprompter and everything. And hopefully do that next year, senior year. And I can't wait for that. Especially it looks so professional, and you really do get a lot of experience. And just to go into Syracuse there, you had top class education, and you worked for many opportunity or networks such as WAER. So how did your time at Newhouse mold you into becoming a better broadcaster, and then from there ultimately prep you into the next stage of your professional career?
Yeah, anybody who wants to get into any aspect of the communications world, whether it's journalistic or television, radio, film, advertising, I can't speak highly enough of Syracuse University. I mean, the alumni network is insane. When I graduated and went to MLB Network, the big joke was half the network is Syracuse grads. It's probably more like 10 to 15%, which is absurd in its own right. But it was a really cool experience at Syracuse, and as great as professors and classes were, which taught me a whole lot. I mean, you get just about as much out of, like you mentioned, working at WAER, which is our local NPR station, and doing pre and post game and play by play for basketball, lacrosse, and football at Syracuse, with a legitimate amount of callers every post game show and stuff. So you really get to interact with the fans who are a rabid and often angry fan base, which was really cool experience. And then fooling around at Citrus TV and Z89 too to get kind of a couple other pieces to the puzzle. But Syracuse, it has every opportunity in the world. And then once you get that diploma and you're out in the great wide world, the people, I wouldn't call it full blown nepotism, but if equal resumes align, the Syracuse grad is probably going to give the job to a Syracuse grad.
Yeah. I've noticed that a lot. I look up broadcasters, and Mike Tirico, I'm a huge Notre Dame fan, so he did NBC for years, and I see him, Syracuse, and just everybody, Bob Costas, I believe, Syracuse. So there's so many people from Syracuse, and it's an awesome school, and definitely one I'm taking a look into right now as I begin my college search. Now, following Syracuse, as you mentioned, you worked as a broadcast associate for the MLB Network before being promoted to associate producer. How did that opportunity come about? And from there, when was the moment you decided to pack your bags and take a chance by taking your talents to Banana Land?
Yeah, man. The only reason why I ended up at MLB Network was Syracuse once again. And like you mentioned Mike Tirico and Bob Costas. Like Tirico came into a class of 15 people I had and chatted with us for like 2.5 hours. And Costas came to the university while I was there and spoke. And the alumni list is pretty prolific after that when you get in Sean McDonough and Ian Eagle and Beth Mowens and the list goes on and on. Jason Benetti. But so like that's just another part of the really cool Syracuse experience is all these people are coming back to the university consistently enough that I was out of there in 3 years because I came in with a plethora of credits and I got to hear and talk to a vast majority of the really powerful Syracuse broadcasters out there. And then because the university pumps out such good talent from the SI Newhouse School. MLB Network comes to Syracuse every year and tries to take every orange man and woman that they possibly can. So like it was a 15-minute interview. That was like the kind of blocks that they had. And I maybe talked for 2 to 3 minutes, 4 if I'm really being generous to myself. The people at MLB Network were really trying to sell us on what they can offer. And the woman who interviewed before me, Tara Lanigan, and the guy who interviewed after me, Yvonne Trazak, both also ended up at MLB Network. So it's like they're just there. They're recruiting so heavily, and that's why you get such a orange contingent, large down there in Secaucus, New Jersey. And then once you get to MLB Network, another amazing experience. I can't speak highly enough to the people in charge there, and especially in production where I was as a broadcast associate. It was a really fun place to work and a dream job in a lot of aspects, getting to bump shoulders with, my heroes from growing up in Jim Tomei, Pedro Martinez, Kevin Millar, Mark DeRosa, Harold Reynolds, like the list goes on and on there too. It was definitely a pinch yourself kind of moment every time I walked into the office and got to, play wiffle ball in Studio 42 and hand some shot sheets to, Greg Amsinger and Dan Plesac in Studio 3. Like it's such a cool experience, but also the whole time I felt that itch to get back into broadcasting, which I had done for a couple summers as an intern in my hometown of Saugerties during the college days. So as amazing as it was to get paid to watch 150 plus Yankees games every year, I had to be true to myself and say, it's kind of wild to leave a job that you love so much and one in which I'd been promoted and was full-time and had benefits and all of that really, safety and security. And I knew I had a really bright future with the company. But it just wasn't 100% what I wanted to be doing. And broadcasting is what I dreamed of. So anyhow, the spark notes of it is, I see an opening for the Savannah Bananas, and it's a 2.5-month gig of collegiate summer baseball, but everything that they had created, the show surrounding the game, was nothing that I'd ever dreamed of before in life. So I knew I had to see it with my eyes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I imagine Jesse Cole, he's perhaps, I don't even want to say perhaps, he is the most outgoing, charismatic, and crazy, but in the best way possible, sports owner, definitely in the major leagues and perhaps in all of sports total. So when you first met Jesse and you went down to Savannah, what was your first impression? And now, can you just describe the aura he brings around the ballpark and even from like a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so June 14th, maybe June 15th, 2020, I meet Jesse at Grayson Stadium at 8 a.m. and he is head to toe yellow in his tuxedo and matching top hat, and just full of energy. Like you said, I mean, you've interviewed him before. You know what he brings to the table. That's how he is day in and day out. Like he's a really creative, incredible person. And I certainly I would be floored if there is an owner in professional sports out there that is more eccentric and driven than Jesse Cole, because that's what it is. Yeah. Like he just loves what he's doing so much. He loves the bananas and the brand that he and his wife Emily Cole and our team president Jared Orton and dozens upon dozens and hundreds and thousands of other people when you get into the game day staff have all created here in Savannah, which, we just had our 201st straight sellout last night. I mean, it's pretty mind boggling. And now the ticket wait list is approaching 600,000 people, and already more than 500,000 people are watching the World Tour this year, just in person. That doesn't count the 50,000 or so we get on the broadcast every night. And Jesse is the heart of this whole thing. He's a creative genius. He has his hand on every little part of the business, and Jesse and Jared and Emily, all, especially Jesse and Jared, as Emily kind of has her specialties throughout the organization. They do a really good job of spreading the wealth and making us all feel like, we're a really important part of the organization, and giving us input and praise and constructive criticism when necessary. I mean, I had a 20-minute chat with Jesse today for the first time on the tour. He was not available to be in the ballpark because he had a prior engagement, speaking engagement, which he loves doing as well. It's kind of a best of both worlds type deal. So he was undercover on the broadcast. And he's just an amazing leader. He's really good at making you feel, loved and appreciated. And also striving to improve every little aspect of what you're doing. He's the plussing master. So it's been a pretty insane and incredible opportunity getting to work underneath him and with him.
Yeah, that's just so awesome. And I could definitely tell with Jesse, as soon as I interviewed him, after, I was like, wow, my life just changed, because ever since then, all the stuff he says with, I don't know if he ever told you about writing letters to people, physical letters, and the importance of that. And now I watch those keynote speeches that you mentioned, and of course the wait list, how high it is. It's credit to him, credit to you. And I'm on that wait list, just to mention, you guys are coming to Trenton though, so knock on wood, I get accepted for those tickets. And originally your Bananas job, as you meant, was just supposed to be seasonal. So how did that grow into a full-time gig? And then now doing this whole world tour thing is one of the craziest, funniest things baseball's ever seen. So how did that really transform from one to the next?
Yeah, really good question. So like you mentioned, 2.5-month contract. And I won't give out the monetary details, but it was so little that I needed a host family to live down here, but it was about the experience. I didn't come down here for the paycheck. And shout out my host, Paula Berman, who I still live with, which is pretty absurd now in my 4th year with the team. But it was just, in anything you do in life, and Jesse is the perfect poster boy for this. I mean, you mentioned the handwritten notes. He wrote me a handwritten letter and sent me a copy of Find Your Yellow Tux and like some banana swag and stuff in the mail before I ever came down to Savannah. And I was like, and like his baseball card and stuff. It's the little things like that. And so often people reach out to him and he responds with videos. Like it's a personal touch, and that's kind of the Banana specialty. And he's baked that into the organization. But to get back to your question of turning a 2.5-month gig into now I'm in year 4, it's just about putting in the work. With broadcasting, it's all about preparation. And I probably did 70 to 80-hour work weeks, but it doesn't feel like that because I love what I'm doing so much. And I came down here and, in the Coastal Plain League, the vast majority of broadcasters don't travel. The Bananas had never had a broadcaster who traveled. And I first week I was there, I sat down in Jared Orton's office and I was like, hey, I'm going to broadcast the away games. You don't have to be a part of it at all. Like I'll figure it out technology wise. I'll pay for my own gas. Like I'm going to go broadcast the away games. And they sauced me like a $300 gas card and stuff and said, all right, good luck, man. But it's just having the drive to want to be on the air as possible. I was blessed to walk right into an amazing fan base. And they welcomed me with open arms and we're definitely probably, as much as inter-office relationships and just doing a good job as far as the higher ups may think, the fans are the most important part. And they were really my champions. So it was a matter of being undeniable, not to toot my own horn too much or anything, but like, that's what it is. Like if the organization can't imagine somebody else doing your job, then you hold all the chips, and all of a sudden, I'm here 4 years later. So yeah, it's just putting in the work and loving what you're doing, and being able to evolve and get better. Like any broadcast that I would listen to from 2020 is just the most embarrassing thing of all time. It's pretty wild how much I've changed as a broadcaster. But it's just, you do the best you can with what you've got, and you continue to get better every step of the way.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, for me, I broadcast games for soccer. I'm a big soccer guy, and there's a local minor league soccer team, FC Monmouth, and I broadcast games with this very microphone too. I bring it to the stadium. I go to the press box up there. It's a high school football field that they play on, and I don't have a color commentator, so I do a bit of everything. But end of the day, you make it work, just like you said, and that's just awesome to hear from you. And you really mention it in bits and pieces throughout the interview so far, but you've had many amazing moments so far with the Bananas. Some to me that are surreal ever since I interviewed Jesse and I found out about the Bananas, such as seeing them on ESPN with Banana Land, the TV show, and then being broadcasted nationally. What's your personal favorite moment so far with your time in Savannah?
Oh my gosh, that's the $1 million question right there, Chris.
Thank you.
It's tough to choose between. It's like my hypothetical children that do not exist. I mean, going back to 2020, Kyle Lewigs hit a home run in his second or third at bat of the night. It was April 15th, 2020, day that lives in infamy in my mind. And that was the first time he had hit since high school at Richmond Hill. And I had him mic'd up, and I had Bill Leroy, his partner in crime, mic'd up. And it was just like, it was a real Al Michaels, do you believe in miracles type moment. And I actually broke out some kind of version of that call because I was just so shocked. But that's early on. That was a highlight. And then 2021 and 22, the Coastal Plain League Championships. The first one was more special than the second. It was the first one since the inaugural season in 2016. It was Kyle, Bill, Dearman, a whole bunch of guys, Dan Oberst, all their last seasons. So, it had Last Dance vibes to it. And then also it was decisive game three in both playoff matchups. So that was amazing. And then you kind of branch into the Banana Bowl era, where there's so many insane, unreal moments. It's nearly impossible to try and separate them. But I think Bill Lee returning to the mound in West Palm Beach to kick off this tour, that was really, really special. After, the scary moment we had on August 19th of 2022 on ESPN2, my national broadcasting debut, that was pretty spooky. But it's going to take a lot more than his heart stopping to take out Bill Lee. That guy's as legendary as they come. And then even more recent this year, kid JJ Falcone, just a heartbreaking story in that, cancer, they got to it too late, had to amputate a leg, and it's been a really tough journey for him. And we were able to welcome him with open arms into Grayson Stadium, thanks to Jose Trevino, actually was the connection. Catcher for the Yankees, got in touch with Eric Burns, who obviously then said, hey, you should try and have this guy out. And it was, it's just so cool. It was so cool to meet his family and get to share the joy of Banana Land with him, which he has now said is his favorite place in the world, which means the world to us. And then in the second game that he was a part of, we do a thing once in a blue moon. We've only done it. We've done it less than 10 times. But the first pitch that counts, and it's usually like a celebrity type deal. But JJ, who hadn't thrown a baseball since his diagnosis, and he was a tremendous baseball player by all eyewitness reports, before having his leg amputated and everything. He went out there on a prosthetic leg, wavered a little bit. It was a scary moment. We thought he might go down, found his equilibrium, and fired a strike in that started the game off on an 0-1 count. That was the most powerful moment I've ever seen in Banana Land. So that's kind of like the amazing dichotomy of this team is you get all the wacky and the weird and the zany with the Banana Nanas and the Man Nanas and Stilts and Malachi Mitchell pinch running 3 or 4 times a game. Matt Wolf, the trick pitching extraordinaire, the Splits, our youngest dance troupe, Jake, the magician. Like, the cast and crew is exquisite and bizarre and things you never imagined at a baseball field. But we're still here. The reason the Bananas exist is to bring joy to people and to entertain folks and make them feel special, especially when times are tough for them. So those are really the moments that ring the truest and mean the most to us.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually saw that story on LinkedIn and just all the socials, and it really was super inspiring. And you're currently doing a brilliant job with Bananas, and obviously you guys are making all sorts of headlines. And I saw in an article that you mentioned you want to be the silly, goofy broadcaster you can share a drink with, to quote the article word for word there. And one thing I've noticed about you, Jesse, and really just any successful person, especially the people I interview, is they pivot and they're always moving and evolving into different directions. So what's next for you in your career, and do you have any plans or goals in the future that you're striving towards or you want to strive to in the future?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the dream is to be in an MLB broadcast booth. That's been the dream since I transitioned from wanting to be a player to a broadcaster when I was about 15 years old. So everything I do is to work towards that. And as much as maybe the way I broadcast in Banana Land isn't quite what the New York Yankees would be looking for. Like, the times are changing and we see it on every stop of the way with the Bananas, with just how absolutely bonkers the kids go for this thing. The future is in banana ball, and hopefully I can bring some of the fun and entertainment and just goofiness into an MLB broadcast booth. So that is the end goal. But I can tell you what, until one of those 30 teams comes a calling, I don't see myself leaving Banana Land. I mean, this is just the most fun place on earth. And I have so much creative freedom, and I'm traveling to 33 different cities across the U.S. On the company's dime, pre-vacations. And I love being a part of the environment and the games. And like, I could talk to you all day and all night long about how much fun I have here. So, they treat me right, and I'm sure I will be in Banana Land for a good bit here. And we'll see if any of those Major League Baseball teams ever come a calling, and if they do, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a viciously hard decision to figure out if I even do leave Banana Land for that.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I just knocked on wood for you over here too. I really hope that can happen. And I'm a big Yankees fan as well, from Jersey, so obviously don't watch baseball as much as I watch soccer and even college football. However, Yankees are always so fun to watch, and you do see with the Bananas, like, baseball really is changing. And in Weld Township, New Jersey, I live on the Jersey Shore. I mean, more people talk about the Bananas and the MLB. And I have a friend that actually is from Savannah. He moved here a couple years ago, so he's got all the merch and everything as well, which is really cool. And we do talk about the TikTok page and everything with that. And as you mentioned and implied, you're a huge baseball fan, and banana ball is really changing the way the game is played. I really think the MLB kind of copied with the pitch clock, and they're trying to do their own thing to make the game faster. So what are your thoughts on the concept of banana ball, and then now the MLB, of course, taking action with that pitch clock?
Yeah, for sure. It's wild times we're living in right now, Chris. I mean, so my first game I broadcasted in Savannah was the first banana ball game ever played in front of fans in 2020. It was an inter-squad scrimmage between like the veteran Bananas and kind of the new guys, is how they split it up. And it was messy at first, but I saw the genius in the game. There's a reason why Jesse Cole and company put their heads together and said, how can we make baseball quicker, more entertaining, and just a better product for the fans, because they felt like they had just about perfected. I mean, they'd never say they have perfected, but, at that point when the first banana ball game was displayed to Bananas fans, they had an 88 straight game sellout streak going. So, they had the entertainment down. But as Jesse loves to say, you can't have the best hot dog in the world with just the best toppings. You got to have the best meat, and that's what the sport is. So I'm all in on banana ball. I have so much fun broadcasting these games. I mean, it's basically impossible to have a blowout, which is one of the smarter parts of this. That's why match style play is the core of this game. You win an inning, you get a point. And then in the ninth inning, every run counts as a point, or the last inning. If you reach the 2-hour time limit before you can get into the ninth, which 23 games into the tour hasn't happened yet, which is absurd. Like Banana Ball has taken such a leap this year just compared to the 2022 tour, when we only got 9 innings in once out of 14 games. I mean, it's a whole different game. The players are a big reason for that. The talent is better than ever. And then we're trimming the fat at every possible spot, so much so that we're timing how long it takes for guys to get from the dugout into the box. And if you're up around like 15 seconds, you're going to get a talking to from the coaching staff like, hey, let's pick up the pace here. So yeah, I'm all in on Banana Ball, and it's pretty wild to see. I mean, Major League Baseball started their testing on trying to, chop into the pace of play and speed up their game times before Banana Ball really became, the sensation that it is today. But it is hilarious, the timing of a pitch clock being instated as this Banana Ball craze reaches a pretty meteoric point in its rise. And then, you have the shift bands and the bases being larger to try and encourage some more running in the game, which has worked. Like, I'm also all in on all of that. I think baseball got a facelift, and the plastic surgeon did a heck of a job, because you look back at baseball in the 50s, 60s, mid 70s, like the game times were averaging 2.5 hours. And then they slowly crept up to the 3-hour plus games that, the two of us have grown up knowing. But before our time, it was a much quicker sport, and a pitch clock was actually in the rule book. And there's a fun story of how one owner tried to actually employ it, but then the umpires just took it out on his team because they felt like they were being talked down to. But that's a story for another day. And then the funniest thing is now making the rounds on social media the past couple of days is the news that the Atlantic League is going to experiment with an automatic pinch runner that can be used at any time. And that's Malachi Mitchell. Like, that's Flash the Kid. Yeah. This guy in Banana Ball, you can pinch run or pinch hit one time through the order. And Malachi will always be the first designated pinch runner. And I will say that the response, at least from the public and talking heads, has been a resounding, we hate this rule for Major League Baseball. And also they're going even more extreme than us and saying you can just run at any point, when at least we limit it through one time through the order. And for Banana Ball, it's an amazing rule. But yeah, it's fascinating to see Major League Baseball adapting and becoming more like Banana Ball every day.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It is all I have for you, but it is definitely really cool just to see all these changes in baseball, and obviously the Bananas are at the forefront of it, and you are the voice behind it, which is just awesome. So it's so awesome to talk to you, Biko, and for anybody watching, make sure to like and subscribe.